well, how does XRP perform against Bitcoin? It doesn't. It topped in 2017 and has gone down only ever since. Sounds like a solid investment. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I think this is going to lead to an even bigger split between Bitcoin and the rest, where I don't think, and the way I'm kind of framing this for myself is, this isn't me bearish on altcoins. Altcoins will go fucking shit crazy like they always do. There will be massive growth because the ETFs do provide legitimacy to crypto as a whole, which then VCs will use to invest in new tech. But I don't think that if your bet is that Wall Street are going to come and buy your altcoin bags this cycle, so 24, 25, or even 2026, I don't think that is going to be a reality. There's people who are trying to say that the Bitcoin flows in the ETFs are underwhelming, even though they're like record. But because of GBTC, people are like, oh, it's not been that great. Just imagine how bad Ethereum would be then. Just imagine how bad Ripple would be. Just imagine how bad Link would be. Where's the demand? I just don't see it coming from TradFi. So for me, I would keep my frame of mind just completely separate. You really do now, like this has been what the maxis have always said, the Bitcoin maxis, you really do have Bitcoin and then crypto. And I think that divide is going to grow, not shrink. That's going to get wider, like alligator jaws, if you imagine. Like, I think they'll disperse even more. So it makes me sort of reevaluate the whole Ethereum ETF thesis. I think Ethereum, just let's focus on Ethereum to pump it whenever there's tech stuff happening. I also heard a really good point about AI. It's like, don't buy anything that claims to be AI that's on Ethereum. Ethereum just fundamentally cannot scale at the level that would make AI, any kind of AI application, feasible. Layer 2s might, other blockchains might, but I'll show an example for this. Akash originally tested, they started to build on Ethereum in I think it was 2019. And then I believe it was CryptoKitties, if you remember CryptoKitties, which was like a little like, it was kind of equivalent to like Bitcoin ordinals this cycle, where it was like completely out of the blue, this speculative mania around these fucking NFTs. But that was before NFTs were a thing. It was like this, this new thing. I'm trying to get the exact, I'll get the exact time and date, but I think it was 2019. And the CEO of Akash, or the founder or whatever, he said, CryptoKitties basically clogged the chain. And Ethereum for a long time was unusable because there was so many people just aping into CryptoKitties that the chain became just completely clogged up. And so they realized at that point, well, if we want Akash to scale to millions of users, it can't happen on Ethereum in the current state. So they moved on and they built their own chain. And I think, and you see this with BitTensor, Tau, T-A-O. Like BitTensor is its own chain. It's its own thing. It's not built on Ethereum. It's its own individual blockchain. And so is Akash, built using the Cosmos SDK. And unless, like, apart from something like Solana theoretically could, Solana, if it can scale to tens or hundreds of thousands of TPS, you could build some AI stuff on that, theoretically. But it seems to me like the actual winning AI type projects will be their own chain. So that, again, that's not going to be ETH. And so I think there's probably going to be a bit of an identity crisis for Ethereum this year, which doesn't have to be necessarily negative. It just needs to find what it is and stick to that. So that makes me like, I see a world then where basically all the Wall Street flows come into Bitcoin for the next year or two. Because everything else is just too soon. And when I say that, I'm talking about like the TradFi Wall Street ETF stuff. I'm not saying that they won't tokenize stuff, and Larry Fink's talking about tokenization and the blockchain is good. Like all of that can be true, but it'll be a different narrative. I don't think the ETF ETH narrative is gonna have as much success as Bitcoin's did. Obviously, if we're in a bull market and the Fed are easing and liquidity conditions are improving, everything's going to go up anyway. You don't need to worry about that. Prices are going to go up. But it's like expectation versus reality. I think right now a lot of people seem to just assume that the ETH ETF is like, let's run it back, let's do it again on ETH. I don't think that'll have as much of an effect. So other stuff is where it needs to come from. And then as for Bitcoin, BTC itself, Bitcoin, I've been talking about this now for a few days, that I thought Bitcoin would consolidate around here. I said it needed a little bit more time over here yesterday. Need the bands to compress, the 4-hour EMAs, to compress, and then flip green. We're now finally seeing that. They've done the compression. There's been a couple of attempts to sell off. They've been absorbed. We've got past the options expiry, which is, so the January OPEX is done. That was at 8 a.m. this morning, UTC. So there's nothing now stopping Bitcoin from moving up or down, but mostly up because 42k was an area where a bunch of options would have expired in the money if it went above, and it didn't. So now we can go up. And I think at this point we should see some kind of unwind now of short positioning and prices to push higher, as there's been just kind of this one directional down, 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 down. I think there's now finally room for a bit of a blow off, for prices to rise. So I'm still expecting that for Bitcoin. If you look at it on the daily, we put in a nice reversal, nice consolidation. I think there's room for it now to push up, maybe into the daily bands. We have the 50 EMA above. We touched and held the 100. And so I'd say at least a move up to 42 makes sense. Up to the 50, up to the upper EMA band on the daily. We also came down and we've held at the weekly 12 EMA. So for me, it's looking pretty good from that perspective. I think we see a little bit of upside here. And from there, we're heading into the weekend. So the other thing I'm going to watch at the weekend is altcoins. Last weekend, if you remember, I talked about the volatility decreasing on alts. Volatility's really dropped off on altcoins on the weekends because I feel like the kind of the speculation aspect has really died off, which is normal. That's fine. Like, it has to. You got, like, say, just for example, a lot of these coins that were doing really well and having big weekend pumps and performing well going into the weekends, like here, into Saturday, say, it pumps, into Sunday, it pumps, and into the Monday. Whereas now, we're kind of on the other side of that, where like last weekend, you see here, we came down Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just chopped around. I wouldn't be surprised to see another weekend of low volatility. Maybe some recovery, like if Bitcoin rallies today and closes at 42 or closes strong, you'll probably see some kind of recovery bounces on alts. But I would expect, from looking at it, that this is still most likely going to be a bounce up just to set some lower highs, retests, and probably go lower thereafter. But we'll see. So that's it. GM, just a sort of reframing how I'm going to view Ethereum and Bitcoin for the next few months. I haven't changed anything yet. I'm still holding Ethereum. I'm still holding Bitcoin, obviously, but I don't know. I'm going to think more about it. I think probably, I don't know. I feel like Bitcoin Solana might be a better split than Bitcoin ETH, just for that reason. And if there's a best way of describing it, like I said, I think Ethereum is going to become like 2021 Bitcoin, where so much money just avoided Bitcoin in 21 and went to other stuff, including Ethereum. I think this time it's like, well, we know there's demand for Bitcoin from Wall Street. We don't know there's demand for Ethereum. And we do know there's demand in crypto for everything else. Say, Solana, Celestia, Injective. which are all smaller, easier to pump. VCs are pumping them, market makers are pumping them. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if this whole Ethereum thing is done yet. I think they're maybe not out of the woods yet. So that's it. GM. See you later. 5 p.m. UTC. Casual Fridays. GM.